Greetings, unsettled souls. Welcome to the Correct Views. Sam I be Gangi, going live with the Media Speaks. Of course, keeping with tradition, went live on Facebook first. And what we did is we talked a little bit about race and this obsession we have with it in this country. Oh, I would say to an unhealthy degree, where it taints everything. And yet, when something of significance happens, when something that is absolutely what Dr. Chris Busby called the worst disaster in all of human history, we don't pay attention because we're too busy with infighting. So I'm going to quickly lay out here exactly what Fukushima was. Fukushima was and is, I'll explain in a minute, a nuclear disaster that happened in 2011. And in that disaster, the worst nuclear situation imaginable to man took place. And what we basically have here now is what some news outlets have called a little neutron star that's just burning away in Japan. You can find, as we reported last time, the effects of this in California wine. You can find it in mushrooms. You can't not find it, as it were, in tuna. It has affected everything, and it's giving massive levels of radiation. Of course, it's going to result in bone cancer, thyroid cancer, and all kinds of horrible things. Heart issues, weakened immune systems where you pick up every cold from here to man. These things will vary on your body chemistry, and they'll vary on other things. But by and large, it will diminish the quality of your life for good. And this happened from TEPCO, which is General Electric. They were warned of this. They and Westinghouse and many of the other major names that you would know if I said them in the nuke industry. They were warned of this, and they did nothing to prevent it. And now the nuclear attack, might as well be an attack. And now that the nuclear meltdown has happened, it would have been better had there been a small nuclear attack, according to some physicists. They say that if there had been a nuclear attack, the amount of overall radiation, even though the initial blast may have been rather significant, the overall death toll from this would be less than is going to be based on the reality of what this Fukushima nightmare actually is. And I wanted to make sure that everyone was on the same page while I go in and cover exactly what it is that we are talking about here in a bit more depth. This is from news.com. Fukushima government considers action over dark tourist episode. Basically, the dark tourist episode exposed Fukushima exactly for what it is. But unfortunately, the powers that are controlling this, and of course the bottom line, the nuke industry, they don't want to get the truth to get out. So they're having a fit about this. And that's why you tune into the Correct Views, so that I can steer you in the right direction, hence the name, The Correct Views. Otherwise, it would be named something else. Its willingness to boldly take audiences to some of the most offbeat, off-putting, and downright disturbing places on the planet has made the Netflix series Dark Tourist a global sensation. The first season of the groundbreaking documentary, I've never heard of it before, maybe it's just me, it was released in July, shows the host, I guess David Ferrier, excursions to grim locations, from a forbidden ghost city on Cyprus to the Milwaukee sites of serial killer Jeffrey Dahmer, his murdered victims. The series landed in hot water due to a second episode that was filmed in Japan. Their government officials are considering taking action against Netflix over footage from inside Fukushima, which was devastated by the earthquake and tsunami in 2011. This was as harmless as we are being told that it is. then would there be that much outrage over the filming of it? Think about it. Let's say you say, Sam, you're the worst host ever. You're a terrible host. A monkey could do a better show than you're doing right now. Oop, oop, oop. Okay, fine. But if you were to film the studio that I'm doing it in, other than the fact that it's my house and you came in uninvited, we'll factor that out because I might shoot you. If you were to film the environment that I'm in, you're going to be all that freaked out about anything that you might see. So what is it that TEPCO in Japan and GE, who bring good things to life, remember, what is it that they're so worried about you seeing? Might it be that a lot of us who have spoken about the dangers of Fukushima, and a lot of us who have quoted the experts on this matter, all right, I guarantee it is. Again, there's a reason it's called The Correct Views here, friends. In the episode, Ferrier, a New Zealand journalist, takes a bus tour with other foreign sightseers into areas affected by the catastrophic nuclear meltdown at the Fukushima Daiichi power plant. The bus passes radioactive exclusion zones, and Ferrier and the other tourists become increasingly nervous by the skyrocketing readings on their Geiger counters, which measure radiation. Now, this is where we need to take a look at exactly what it is happening here. While we are fighting amongst ourselves, deciding whether or not Black Lives Matter, while Black people kill each other more than many other race kills them, while white people run around trying to decide whether or not the Pope knew about this sexual scandal or some other sexual scandal, there is a catastrophic nuclear situation taking place in Japan. And it is causing skyrocketing readings on Geiger counters, according to what I just read from you. And that means that there is nuclear damage done to cells and DNA. And it reminds me of the Podesta scandal. How many of you remember this? When Hillary Clinton and others got exposed for what it is that they were doing via things like spirit cooking, of course, is Satanism, for lack of better words. They condemned the person who broke the story, but at no point did they ever take the time to address the actual problem, which was that there were Satanists at the highest level of the Clinton campaign. Now you've got people from Fukushima, as you can see right here, having a fit about people exposing skyrocketing readings on Geiger counters, but not addressing the fact that those readings are, in fact, accurate. They cannot be dispelled nor wished away. But we were told for how long that they weren't real? At one point in the episode, the reading is 50 times higher than levels which are deemed to be safe. In another scene, the group visits a local restaurant where Ferrier is concerned about eating locally sourced food which may be contaminated. And in another, he comes close to being arrested after sneaking into an abandoned arcade that was deemed a no-go zone. Basically, TEPCO is trying to hide what it is into these communities in order not to proper compensation, and then of course to keep the bottom line of the nuclear industry. We were examining the video content, an official said. 3 issues are apparent concern to officials were Ferrier being worried about eating the restaurant's food, his visit to the off-limits arcade, and the exact location of the bus, where the high radiation readings alarmed the tourists. Perhaps the problem needs to be that there is a cover-up of massive proportions happening in Fukushima, and that this is the kind of thing that affects the life and the health of people in an unwavering degree. Okay, there is no other way around it. It is that severe beyond all debate. Hello, so many of you have joined. This isn't something that might be. Rather, this is something that unequivocally is. And I don't think that can be overstressed. I seem like I'm tired, friends. I am, but I do want to make sure I do these last three stories. JapanTimes.co. Extreme makeover. TEPCO attempts image overhaul at the Fukushima nuclear plant. Now, how many of you, if you're like me, you've been laughing at the countless, endless march of celebrities who work constantly to redefine who it is they are, to come out with some kind of a new image? And I'm not talking about something like David Bowie or the Blue Man Group where everything is a theme. I'm talking about people that never had any talent, like Beyonce, that repackage themselves as Sasha or some ridiculous thing every couple of years just to resell themselves as something new, when in fact they are caustic. In her case, she is the death of American culture. In this case, it's the death of actual people trying to be repackaged in a way where you will turn away and not realize what it is that's happening right in front of you. Extreme makeover. Here we go. Call it an extreme makeover in Fukushima. Officials are attempting what might seem impossible, an image overhaul on the site of the worst nuclear meltdown in decades. Now, let me go ahead and give this to you in the way that will do you the most good. Take your money out of mutual funds, which have General Electric in them, and put them into infrastructure mutual funds instead. If you are investing, invest in anything but General Electric, which is TEPCO. Do not invest in Westinghouse or DuPont, and make a mental note to do research to make sure that none of the money you buy goes to anyone that funds nuclear power or nuclear energy in any way. You can also make a very big deal in these by not buying any of their products. And if you feel the need to, then buy them used at Goodwill, because they don't get money on the second purchase. At the Fukushima #1 nuclear power plant, there's a flashy new administrative building. Debris has been removed and covered. In Tokyo Electric Power Company Holdings, Inc., officials tout the light radioactive security measures now possible. You see people moving around on foot, just in their uniforms. Before that was banned, says the official from TEPCO, the operator of the plant. Okay, again, friends, can I get you to pay attention? Is anyone listening? Now that they are not allowed to do that, now that they are allowed to do that, I should say, and they weren't before, let's take a common sense look at this, if we would. We know that elements like radioactive uranium, strontium-90, cesium, we know that these radioactive elements can, will, and do remain radioactive and deadly for between thousands, and in the case of uranium and plutonium, might as well be eternity. We're talking millions and billions of years before you can be around it. With that being true, doesn't common sense at some point seem to dictate that, hey, happened in 2011, which is yesterday by nuclear terms. So if they are now allowing people to enter those areas without any restrictions, then wouldn't common sense dictate to you that that's a matter of publicity? It's PR stunt, it's PR move. It's not based on science or the safety of anyone. Think about this. These cherry blossoms bloom in the spring, he adds, gesturing to nearby foliage. If it sounds like a hard sell, that might be because the task of rehabilitating the plant's reputation is justifiably Herculean. Yeah, because the cherry blossoms are growing and deformed, and the radiation has given a precursor to these blossoms, to which is going to fall a lot of people. In 2011, the Great Japan earthquake, of course, triggered the devastating tsunami that we have told you about. I'm talking about it all show. Visitors since May have been able to move around near the reactors on foot rather than being restricted to vehicles. And they can wear very light equipment, insists TEPCO spokesman Kanji Abe. That is because they are being poisoned, friends, for the good of the bottom line. This isn't progress. This isn't cold shutdown. Go ahead and look into the definition of what cold shutdown even is. When you do, you'll find that they're failing miserably here, and they're lying to you. So basically, let's say I take this bug spray, and I'm going to spray it in your face. It says here that it's deadly to do that. Okay. So I'm going to hold my hand in front of it and spray it in your face. And because the can doesn't say that that's deadly, then it's probably fine to do. Fukushima and TEPCO is knowingly putting people at risk for the good of their image, the bottom line, and investments in the overall nuclear industry, which propagates the lie and the myth which you and I know as global warming. That's a correct view, and it is inarguable, according to what the science says. BBC. Fukushima nuclear disaster. UN says the cleanup workers risk exploitation. You think so? Shazam, Sparky. Workers used to decontaminate the Fukushima nuclear plant in Japan are at grave risk of exploitation, independent UN experts say. And let's face it, Donald Trump was absolutely correct with his assessment of the United Nations. This is an area that hasn't brought along quite the level of peace of which they say that they're going to. For that matter, it's the United Nations, which are tied into NATO, which has put nuclear weapons on Vladimir Putin's doorstep. Do I like him? No. Would I like to have a beer with him? No. But he has a point, people. Fellow Americans. Do I have any Americans listening today? If Vladimir Putin put nuclear weapons on the border between Mexico and the United States, how many of you would be happy about it? Well, that's what we did to Russia. So the United Nations is clearly in on a lot of this, including tying the importance of nuclear into the myth of global warming. Even they are taking notice of it. I'm taking notice of her. Okay, fair enough. Tens of thousands, reportedly, including migrants and homeless people, may be being deceived about the risks of exposure to radiation, they say. The UN is urging the Japanese government to protect them. The plant was hit by a tsunami in 2011, causing the most serious nuclear accident since Chernobyl. Who is she? I'm reading my comments. It's an ad. The UN experts known as a scantily clad ad. The UN experts known as special rapporteurs said they were also concerned that workers might be being coerced into accepting hazardous working conditions because of economic hardship and being given inadequate training and protection. So let me put this in a nutshell for you. A lot of what we are seeing at Fukushima right now is them preying on people, but they're using a number of rather clever ways, I would say, to get this done. One of the ways that they're doing this is bringing people into the decontamination work, promising them a certain amount of money. So let's say they're risking their lives and doing a job that they should be getting paid $25, $30, $50 an hour for. They're being paid the equivalent of $15, $18 an hour. And they're getting poisoned in a way that will affect them for the rest of their lives. Now, I know that there's a lot of people who would insinuate that, well, I'm not afraid to die, damn it. That's not the way it works. Quit being an idiot. You sound like a child when you say that. Get the hell off my show. This brings to you a destruction on a cellular level that greatly impedes the quality of health for not just you, but everyone around you for the entire duration of their life, long before you are killed from the effects of it. And I think that's very, very, very important to note because there's so many people sucking down 90 cigarettes a day or something, insisting that they're not afraid to die or whatever. But it doesn't really work that way. That's not the way it happens. This makes it, this radioactive poisoning makes it so that you catch every cold that comes down the pike, no matter what you do. It makes it so that you eat certain foods like mushrooms or wine from California, and it affects the body, even if this isn't being put on the warning labels. It's not being put on the warning labels because if the truth was to be put out there, people would be moving from these areas in droves. And they're more worried about the bottom line than they are anything else. And that cannot be stressed enough before moving on, which we're going to do now. But I'm trying to put it out there so that people can see how this is happening. What I'm saying is an opinion. What I'm saying is absolute carved in stone fact, irrefutable, the freaking correct views. The UN experts known as special rapporteurs, I read that, I'm sorry, we are equally concerned about the impact of exposure to radiation may have on physical and mental health. Yeah, they're trying to make you sound like you're crazy if you stand up for yourself and state the facts, which I just proved, which can be proved by Dr. Helen Collicott, can be proved by Dr. Chris Busby, can be proved by Arnie Gunderson. I don't even like Arnie Gunderson, and he's right. Tens of thousands of I don't like him. Tens of thousands of workers have been recruited under the decontamination program. He's arrogant, that's why. However, the UN said it was concerned by reports that big contractors had used hundreds of inexperienced, smaller subcontractors and brokers to recruit a considerable number of workers. This may have created favorable conditions for the abuse in violation of workers' rights. In other words, let's just take the poor and give them the absolute worst job imaginable. Let's make them think they're getting paid well so that they go home and tell their families how wonderful they're doing. While General Electric, who brings such great things to life, spray them in the face with bug spray, to use the analogy earlier. Workers are often exposed to a myriad of human rights abuses, forced to make the abhorrent choice between their health and income, and their plight is invisible to most consumers and policymakers with the power to change it. In other words, we always hear, particularly from the left, but we're coddled to believe this in total, that if something terrible happens, our leaders are going to come rushing to our rescue. Really? It must mean by what I'm seeing in Japan that our leaders are going to stab us in the back. And if you think that that's an isolated case, then you need to take a moment to look at what happened in Chernobyl and even what happened in England with Windscale. It is, at the end of the day, that simple, friends. And you're listening to the correct views. Friends, I got one to get to. You don't want to miss it. But if you would like to donate to the show, that you can do by donating at the correct views at hotmail.com. You can do that through PayPal. And every single penny that you give to me, I give towards producing a better show, which at the end of the day is what I'd really like to give to everyone here. So I'm not just saying it to fill time. Please, if you can donate to the show, please do. I really could use the help. Because right now, Facebook's really bringing a lot of our facts and hiding them. And now that my DUMBDEE music is coming in loud, finally DUMBDEE of the day. This is from stuff.co.nz. Kaiwi Fukushima resident says the area isn't dangerous despite radiation. Now, friends, that's a lot like a Nazi saying that Auschwitz isn't dangerous because of Hitler. It's like saying to a pit bull that you're not in danger even though your owner is Ray Lewis. So did he just say that? Yeah, I did. We're not politically correct here. It's like saying that lasagna is safe in front of Mr. Dago, to pick on myself. I'm not politically correct. This is the DUMBDEE of the freaking day. This person is so stupid I don't know how they breathe. Kiwi journalist David Ferrier was caught the attention of Japanese officials over his video of Fukushima. Of course, we've talked about his escapades there the man is. But there's a resident here, Iris Waddell, who's lived in the region for 2 years and felt that the documentary was not a true representation of the threats of Fukushima. Oh my God, I'm an idiot. I thought it was a sensationalist, actually. She's 35 kilometers from the power plant. Let me tell you what, you stupid piece of human filth. You're not going to go ahead and get sick right away. You're not going to get sick in 2 years. By telling people or insinuating that this is somehow safe, you're going to bring other people into it so they can all be poisoned along with you in just a few more years, you stupid twat. Swear to God, stupidity just sends me over the edge. People think I'm the one that's nuts. No, I'm the one that's fine. You're the one that's freaking nuts. Setting yourself up in front of this and telling the world that it's safe and bringing people in there so that they can eat food like Lady Gaga did when she visited. And somehow you can sleep at night being the pieces of human garbage that you are. We had these numbers, but that kind of goes out the window when you're on the spot. Your Gagermaner is screaming at you. And everyone in the team is ready, tired, and you've panicked, and you're going to get cancer in like 20 years. Notice that's 20 years, not 2 years, you stupid idiot. On the one hand, people say that it's a good thing to see what happened here and to know that the region is recovering. But on the other hand, people are saying it's terrible to capitalize on the disaster. You are not capitalizing on the disaster. According to the Bible, which I have always read, a worker is worthy of his hire. And if a journalist is getting paid to expose the reality and the absolute irrefutable truth of how dangerous this is, and if somebody tells you something other than what I am saying, then please know that it is not the correct view. If someone is warning you about what's happening in Fukushima, then they are worthy of every penny that they get. They are not capitalizing on it. They are making a living covering their expenses and exposing the truth, which the major mainstream media and the people tied into General Electric advertising dollars do not want to get out. Riddell, 27, is an idiot, an assistant language teacher. She works as the Japanese teacher to deliver English curriculum to the pupils in the school. If she cared about the pupils in the school, then she would move them out of the damn school. I'm sick of it. You're listening to The Correct Views, friends. If you'd like to donate, you can do so at thecorrectviews@hotmail.com. Every penny you give to me goes towards a better show. We'll be doing the Dunce Cap of the Month Awards show very soon. And I would like to say that I'm sorry for being angry, but I'm not sorry for being angry because I am right. And those who are right have every right to be angry. Good night, friends. God bless. Share this video.